A new book written by an American journalist promises to deliver on a tall order. The Other Francis, published in Italian earlier this month, reveals the personal side of the Holy Father. It contains 14 interviews with high-profile personalities in the church, as well as relatives and friends of the Argentine Pope. Joining us now is the author, Deborah Lubov. Deborah has also worked in EWTN's Rome Bureau in the past. Deborah, who is the Other Francis? What do you mean when you say that?
Yes, Wyatt. Well, the Other Francis is someone who behaves and feels like anyone else, someone who wants normal relationships and wants to be treated just like you and me. In fact, in the book itself, which contains the preface of Cardinal Pietro Parolin, he even speaks of the many occasions where we see the Pope showing his simple and humble way, even pouring in a plastic cup for someone elderly a glass of water. We see the times in which, even right after being elected, Cardinal Napier tells that after the conclave, when everyone was going to greet Pope Francis, how Cardinal Diaz, who had trouble walking, was seated at the other hand of the room, and Pope Francis actually went over to him. There are so many different episodes, whether it's Cardinal Mueller or Archbishop Gonschwein, Cardinal Dolan, where they tell of how this humility and simplicity of Pope Francis has really hit the people and the different episodes throughout their very lives.
Sure. And speaking of that, of all of those people that you interviewed, the Pope's sister, Cardinal Timothy Dolan, the Vatican Secretary of State, as you mentioned, so many other high-profile church leaders, how did you get access to the Pope's inner circle like that?
Well, I've been in the Vatican for a little while now. My first experience was in 2010 at the Pontifical Council for Social Communications, but I've been working as the Vatican correspondent for Zenit, and I've had a lot of friendships and contacts that I got to know over the years, and as I developed trust, I little by little felt comfortable wanting to speak to them about who Francis really is, because so often and throughout the press we see sort of a depiction of Francis. We see headlines that may or may not capture who the pontiff really is. So why not speak to those who are really right there with him day in and day out?
Well, as you know, Pope Francis has been an inspiration for so many. He's also inspired many books about himself after he was elected. What will readers find most compelling in your book in particular?
Yes, in this book, one will find an unfiltered Francis. One will find the Francis that people may not know much about. Even, for instance, in the interview with Maria Elena Bergoglio that was actually done in Buenos Aires, we learn about the reasons for which the Bergoglio family went into Italia. Did we know that his grandmother was a fervent anti-fascist that was so adamant about speaking out against fascism that the Bergoglio family would have been in prison had they not left Italy? It was not because of poverty. They were actually pretty well off. But here we find a very close up account of what makes Bergoglio who he is and why he is doing all that he is doing now.
So fascinating to hear about the Holy Father, both as a pope and as a person. Deborah Lubov, author of The Other Francis. Thanks so much for telling us about it.
Thank you, Wyatt.